So here we have the 1996 Playmates Wrath of Two / motion picture phaser. I don't remember seeing this in the motion picture, but apparently it was there. Anyways, this is the toy from Playmates. Don't know why I didn't get it at the time. I just didn't. Let's see here. I've looked up a ton of pictures of the prop for this project, and that detail is completely wrong. These nubs aren't on here. These are actually gold. The little what look like buttons with a little dot and clear dot in the middle. There's a display here. This is actually gold. It's all different. And in fact, on most of the toys I see, this detail is the most different. It doesn't have these lines here. I like the lines. They give it a little bit of flair. The emitter is actually painted black instead of this translucent amber. This here is pretty close, except for the bevel here goes up along the side, but if that were the case, you couldn't get the toy functionality in here. And that is, if you turn it to the left, you get stun. If you turn it to the right, you get disrupt. Now when that happens, these three lights, or what would be three lights, light up in here. There's amber, green, and red. And then you fire the emitter, it fires the color of the end there. And these are all, of course, light bulbs. In fact, you can change said light bulbs. Well, you can change the emitter light bulb. These are probably grain of wheat bulbs in here. Maybe. Don't know. Haven't opened it. Here's your speaker holes, your trigger that goes pew, and all that jazz. Now, I don't know the exact functionality of this because this doesn't work. I put batteries in it, 2 AA right down there. When I did, the speaker crackled, sounded like it was dying, and the emitter turned on and wouldn't go off. So the electronics do not work in here. So I'm going to see what's wrong with the electronics, and if I can fix it. That's actually a joke. I probably can't. But if it's something like, a wire is misplaced, or, there's corrosion, well, that's easy to fix. I can do that. Barely. That's the inside. Let's talk about the outside. What do I want to do the outside? Well, first thing is screw holes. Get rid of the screw holes. Fill them with 2-part epoxy. Get rid of this stupid thing and fill that in with epoxy. There's tons of steps. Not so much gaps, just steps. You can see that huge step there with the shadow. Because, of course, 2-part mold. I think the biggest gap is right there towards the end of the emitter. And then, of course, this garbage underneath here that I got to fill. And that. The thing about this is the panel here, it curves inwards. You can see by the shadow right here that it curves inwards as opposed to this. So that's going to be fun. But most of this is removing steps. Here's a huge step here. This is a huge step. And this is a hilarious step. This step is right here. You can hear that even. See that? This side is higher than this side. Well, let's go up to here, and it's exactly the opposite. This side's higher than this side. That is funny. That will be fun to get rid of. So, fill in screw holes, get rid of steps. Let me think. What else? Painting. The color of the phaser is not this color. It's actually more like this color here. This metallic kind of silvery gray, which is why I picked up this. Also, there is a sticker that goes across here. That's why those lines are there. That's cool, and I like the lines. I'm keeping the lines, but it'll be cool for matching up or lining up and cutting the sticker, which is this horrible, horrible sci-fi looking hologram crap. It's the same stuff that were around Picard's pictures in Generations. Remember when he's looking through his photo album as brother and nephew, and this stupid border because the future around the pictures, and it looks stupid. Well, it's the same horrible crap that goes here. So I bought crap that wasn't as horrible, that gets the point across. You can see it was this kind of rainbowy, sparkly stuff, and in the right light, you can, like this right here, it almost looks pretty subtle. So I thought, yeah, not bad. And it gives a little bit of life to the gun. Anything else externally? Nope. Outside of painting colors, I'm going to retain the black here, but it's not going to be gloss. It's going to be flat. Same thing with the clip here. That's going to be flat black. Not going to touch the paint on here. Not going to do anything with that frosted dial. So that's externally. Internally, oh dear God. So the electronics, I don't know if I care about them. Meaning I don't really, it's not a huge bummer if that speaker is blowing and I don't get pew pew pew, right? That's not a huge deal. But the lights are completely incorrect. As I said, this is amber, green, and red. That shouldn't be. This should be all the lights up here are the same color. They're this just bright white, and this is illuminated too. So you got bright white here, and sometimes bright white here. I've seen tons of screenshots, and most of the screenshots, or all of the screenshots, have this lit, and this lit. Some of them have this little guy right here lit. So that's when I'm going to light, and then put a super bright red one up in the emitter. I'm going to keep the amber, but I'm going to put a red LED underneath it, because that would be a pain to replace. That's really the only reason. It's nice, it's already frosted, that'll work. So what I want is at least the pew pew. Not necessarily the sound, but I do want the emitter to light up when you hit the trigger. Now this, the most basic circuit in the world. It's probably 2 copper connections, because this is 96. And once you pull the trigger, the connections touch and it forms a circuit. That will be easy. If I can keep the speaker and retain the sound effects, that'll be cool. I don't care about the light functions, I'll remove that. But the speaker function will be cool. So replacing these with chip LEDs, this with a bright LED, throwing a chip LED in here. This thing runs off of 2 AA, which is, let's see, 1.5 volts each, that's 3 volts. Replace those with a watch battery, a 3-volt watch battery. And if the electronics are trashed, if the speaker doesn't work, if I just decide I don't care, I will wire the whole thing up. This is the battery cover here. Let's do that over there. And I got a ton of room in there to play with for my wires. And the cool thing is I have a little area in here to mount a momentary switch. So I mount the switch there, give some slack to this, because I might need to, well, probably will need to change the battery. Click the switch on, that switch will turn on the lights. At least this light here, these lights, and this light. And retain the emitter light. So when I push this, it fires. That is probably what I'm going to do. And I won't know anything else till I get this thing apart. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back when I've taken this thing apart. The one thing that stinks about this is this cowl and this thing into here, it's snapped into there. That's going to be a thing, because I don't know how to easily get this off, and it's snapped into a 2-part cowling around this plastic peg. So that might be an adventure. Well, I'll start taking this thing apart and get back to you guys. So I took the gun apart. As you see, it's in 2 halves now. Here's all the electronics, and it's important when you're taking things apart with screws to have them somewhere. And if there's different sizes, mark it off. I usually wrap them in tape and mark it off. Luckily, all these screws are the exact same size, so no big deal there. Now, I was pretty much wrong about everything. For some reason, when I put the batteries in, put the battery case in, this thing sucks. This thing doesn't want to stay in. It just stays in wrong, but the gun actually does work. And everything works. The lights, the sounds, and this is actually a momentary switch of sorts. Here you kind of flip it around here like this. Let's see if that worked. You get a barrage. I don't like the barrage so much. The first sound, oh no, this thing's all out of whack. Oh, well, whatever. But yeah, so it works. I still don't like, I don't mind the one sound. So, I still don't like these. These are LEDs. Surprise, surprise. This is not. This is like a flashlight bulb. These are actually LEDs that are soldered into the soundboard here. So, this little light here just pops out so you can change it nice and easy. So I could mount an LED in here, and there's actually a see if I can show this. There's actually, you can kind of see in there, there's a couple of, I guess, metal, not copper, just metal connections for the negative and positive. So it'd be pretty easy to mount a red LED, because this is just white and this comes out here. I thought it'd come out here kind of ambery like this is, but this is actually just white. And this bulb is, I could paint the bulb, I suppose. But I'd rather it be an LED. So now the question is, what do I do? If I can figure out where everything, the sound card is mounted to this plastic piece vis-a-vis screws, which I'll have to take out if I'm going to mess with the electronics. I still want to, yeah, mounting an LED is fine. I don't like this is actually red, green, and red. I don't like I don't like how they flash either. So, now what? I kind of like the sound. I don't care if it's, I kind of like the first sound. I don't care if it flips back and forth. I don't care if those things light up. So I have to figure out if there's a way that I can keep just the sound. Also, I can't illuminate this because this, as you can see here, has a screw in the bottom. So I couldn't illuminate that. And these LEDs are actually colored LEDs like that, like you'd find in a VCR or whatever. So I'd have to replace those, and they're literally soldered onto the board. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this, but I did take this off. It's just screwed on there. I think I'm going to put it back on, mark it off, cut it with a Dremel, just so I don't have to, because this is a big old hole to fill right there. So I think I'm just going to keep whatever plastic remains after I cut it off and just fill that in. That'll be a lot easier than just having to fill that whole hole. So yeah, more when I actually figure out what I'm going to do next. So here it is, even more taken apart. I took the electronics out, and let's see here now. Let's see, we have the speaker. We have, let's see here, here's the selector, here's the trigger right here. Here are the battery connectors. They're all mixed up in here, but these are the battery connectors. This is the mount for the flashlight bulb that goes in front. Just slide it in and out of there. And here's the circuit board. Here's the selector for the sound effects. It's just a switch. And yeah, here's the circuit board. It's a pretty simple circuit board. You've got about 2, 4, 6 resistors. You got the LEDs. You got I'm assuming these black things are the sound chips. I don't know what that is. Capacitor. So you can flip it over and you can see it's an integrated circuit board. The little green, the light green are the circuit paths. You can see how they all connect and how everything's soldered in there. I don't, it's a simple thing, but I don't know what's going on here, so I'm just gonna take most of this out. And besides, I kind of want to do what, make it look more like the prop anyways. So we're taking this out, we're taking the speaker out, we're taking the selector. So no sound effects or selectors, but it will have lights. I'm keeping the mount. Oh, broke off. Oh no, the cable broke. That doesn't matter. I was going to take them off anyways. I'm going to take these clips off because this is the mount for this, and this is just threaded in here. This light bulb, and I'm going to mount. Where are you? There you are. I got some more stuff from Evan Designs. I got a super bright SMD, you can see there, and that'll be nice. And I will mount that right here, put that in there, and run the cables out one of these These are just clips in here you can take off easily. And down to the trigger part here. So I'm keeping this. This is the only two parts I'm keeping. And this is for a mount. The only electronics I'm keeping is the trigger mount because, well, that's already made and all I have to do is splice in the wires to what I'm doing. So that will be that. That will be my super bright red SMD. And then I got, where are they? Four lights right here. And therefore they're very small chips, like I put in my Batmobile. Can't even see them. They're somewhere in there. I know they are. I can see them. And then you've got your 3-volt battery. This runs off 3 volts, so I will have no resistors to wire up. And there's your battery in the compartment and your switch right there, which that switch I will mount right here, drill a hole in the bottom. And I will run the wires up here. I've been doing some work on the body. You can tell I've been getting rid of those steps slowly but surely. I've succeeded in some spots you can still see major steps. That's pretty good, actually. It's not bad. It's getting better. So I'm taking out all the steps in here before I start painting and primering it. Let's see what else. These 4 chips will go in here, and I'm going to paint the backside of this a gold color. So it's okay. Where are they? Okay, it goes like this. So there are 3 little dots in here, and I want to light the bottom 2 and this one over here. And since on the prop there are little dots, they're not necessarily lights, but there are little dots. I'm going to mask off little dots. This is actually this gold color on the prop, so I'll be masking off these holes. I'll be masking off a couple dots, one on each of these 3 out here that don't have these brackets, and I'll mount off, or I'll mask off the inside of these too, as you can see. And I'll paint the underside of this gold and then black for light blocking. So that's that, and that's where those 4 will go. Well, 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one will, of course, go in here. Well, actually, it'll go in here. It'll mount underneath here, and that just goes on there somehow. Good enough. And that's the plan for the lighting. Now I need to get all the electronics done before I can start buttoning this up for paint. I can primer this. And the other thing I'm going to do in here is, if there's not enough room to... There should be enough room. I mean, there's tons of room for wiring. And there's tons of room for slack. And there's quite a bit of wire in here. And on here. So I should have more than enough to come up from here, come all the way down, and then I'm going to need some slack on the battery compartment when I want to change the battery, because of course the button's going to be here, and I'll need slack between the button and the battery, and then I'll need some slack between the battery, or unless I mount the battery. I'm probably going to mount it right there so I can just unclip it without having it kind of jiggle around loose in here. So the slack I'll need really is mainly from here. Just take the battery compartment off and have enough slack where if I accidentally do something with it, it won't just pull all the wiring out of there, or at least pull these things, the switch that's loose. So that's more than enough room in there. So I need to get all the electronics done and mounted, and then put everything else back on, like the emitter, this battery compartment, this thing on top, where is it, this thing all goes back on top, and then I'll have to mask those off, and before I can start painting, well, mask them off and fill these holes, and then start painting. So that's where we at with that. And now I'm gonna figure some wiring out. I'll have more later. So I've done a little bit of painting, a little bit of white in there, couple of coats of white to make the light reflect off of the surfaces. You can see I've got that mount in here just sitting in there right now. And this is was the front mount. Here you can see. And I did it. I just cut out a piece of plastic here in the same shape as the front of this because I want the where is it? There it is. The SMD to be mounted just right there. So I'll mount that there and run it back through here. I just painted it white so we'll get a lot of nice light reflection out of there. The other thing I did was, let's see, where's that little bit? Oh, where'd it go? It was in there. I'm gonna have to fill that. The stupid thing didn't cut properly. There we go. Yeah, I'd have to do a lot of form fitting, so I'm just gonna fill it. The other thing I did is I got this thing ready for paint. You can see, hard to see, but there's little dots of glue on those right there in the center of those things. So I'm going to paint the back of this, where is it? Oh, gold. And then when the paint's dry, I'm just going to pop off those little bits of glue that are in these holes and on these little pieces in between here. So that's where I'm at right now with this. Anything else? I don't think so. Be back when there's more done.